What if Tensura, the 8th Primordial? Author, 1010-100. When Haru of the Minamoto dies standing after a heroic effort during the Genpei War, he is reincarnated in the world of that time. I got reincarnated as a slime. As a demon? In the Underworld? As a bottom feeder? Watch Haru climb the ranks of the demon ladder, and maybe someday, stand toe-to-toe with the monsters of the Underworld and the Cardinal World. Chapter 36. What will it be? The minister raised his voice once more. Dear adventurers, the request given to you is to defeat the resurrected demon. This account was found in a century-old text. One of the 2 guards standing behind him stepped forward, holding a thick book. He opened it to a marked page and turned it outward so the illustration could be seen. Cougar muttered quietly beside Shizue. The champion orthos, huh? At the front of the hall, Haru calmly examined the illustration. It depicted a heroic knight locked in battle with a demon. The champion orthos, Haru thought. What a joke! A demon who had managed to name himself through the belief of humans. Haru let out a quiet chuckle. Ever since becoming a demon, he had begun to realize just how pitiful and foolish humans truly were. Through their fear and faith, they had created an archdemon with their own hands. Well, at this point, given enough souls, Haru could theoretically name himself as well, even without resorting to tricking people into believing he was a hero. All he needed was the right moment to fully materialize in the Cardinal World. The minister continued. However, this record only tells us that the demon was successfully sealed by the Knight Orthos. It does not explain how the seal was performed. That is why we wish to rely on the combined strength of all of you. One adventurer suddenly shouted from the crowd. There isn't enough information on the enemy. Are you telling us to go and die? Another voice followed. The Silver Wings were heroes famous enough to earn titles. If they failed, then there aren't enough lives between all of us to survive this. Shizue silently agreed with them. An adventurer with a scar running down his right eye, dressed entirely in blue, stepped forward. Sorry, but this is too dangerous. I'm out. He turned and began walking toward the doors, but was abruptly stopped. The guards at the entrance swiftly crossed their spears in front of him. The man froze in shock and staggered back. Haru smiled faintly to himself. He had already identified the man as a lesser demon, an insect of no interest to him. But the minister and the guards were demons as well. This country truly is a den of demons, Haru thought. The minister raised a hand. Wait, we need the help of all of you to defeat this demon. Shut up, the man shouted. The guards tightened their grip on their spears, their tips aimed directly at him. The man retreated, panic flashing across his face. The entire hall fell into stunned silence. Cougar rubbed his head. Oh man! The minister spoke again, his tone soothing. Please calm down. In truth, there is one thing we do know, which is the demon's objective. Every adventurer turned toward him. One of them asked, What do you mean? The minister paused before continuing. There are remains laid to rest beneath the castle in the underground reception hall. He let the words settle before finishing. Those remains are the demon's original body. His objective is to reclaim it and complete his resurrection. One man whispered, The demon's remains? An awkward silence followed. Then, Shizue raised her hand. Cougar glanced at her in surprise. The minister smiled warmly. Ah, that must be the renowned Shizue Izawa. I will gladly answer any question you ask. Shizue spoke calmly. If this demon drove the kingdom to the brink of ruin and defeated the Silver Wings, then it must be a superior demon. An archdemon. Haru smiled faintly, as expected of Shizue. Right on the mark, he thought. It wasn't difficult to deduce the threat level, but she had arrived at the conclusion far quicker than most would. The minister nodded. Yes. Shizue continued. That brings me to my question. Does this demon have a name? Haru thought to himself. Monsters gain far greater power when they are granted names. This should be common knowledge for any competent adventurer in this building. The minister answered calmly. No. There are no records indicating that the demon possessed a name. Haru chuckled quietly once more. The demon minister plays his role well. There wasn't even the slightest shift in emotion when Shizue hit the bullseye. Truly impressive. Shizue fell into thought. If he has no name, then he shouldn't be an archdemon, but it is difficult to imagine the silver wings falling to anything less. She questioned the minister again. So your intent was to gather us here and wait for the demon to arrive? Indeed, the minister replied. Now that the silver wings have fallen, this is our only strategy. Shizue frowned internally. He says that, yet he seems to view us as enemies. Her gaze shifted toward the adventurer at the doors, still being threatened by spears. The frightened man shouted, "Screw that! I have no obligation to serve this nation. I'm leaving." Before he could take another step, a knight approached him and slashed him with his sword. Blood spilled as the man collapsed to the ground. Shocked gasps filled the hall. Cougar spoke in a low, stunned voice. "He killed him." An adventurer shouted, "What's the meaning of this?" Another yelled, "Hey, what are you thinking?" The knight turned and shouted back, "Quiet! Before you curse me, take a good look at him." He kicked the body, flipping it onto its back. From the man's stomach, a minotaur-like demon emerged. "What's going on?" someone shouted. Shizue stared at it and thought, "A lesser demon." Haru smiled. Now things are about to get a whole lot more interesting. The guards quickly cast a spell, enveloping the lesser demon, and exorcised it. The knight drove his sword into the ground and spoke. "You see that? We isolated all of you here because some of you may have been possessed by demons just like him. It would be best if you cooperate. Try anything funny, and you'll be seen as a demon and cut down." The room was frozen in shock. This has turned ugly, Shizue thought. Cougar turned to her. This looks bad. These guys are panicking, which makes sense. If possession is possible, that includes you and me too, Shizue. True, Shizue replied. She thought further. He wants us to find the demons among ourselves. Suddenly, a loud chuckle echoed throughout the hall. 3 people near Haru recoiled. Who's this guy? One muttered. No idea. Never seen him before. Another said as they backed away cautiously. Haru was completely covered by a brown cloak. His face couldn't be seen. Everyone turned toward him, Shizue and Cougar included. Cougar swallowed, sweat forming. Shizue-san. Shizue nodded. Yes, he's very powerful. He seems to be a mage, but he shows no weakness. She thought in disbelief. Unbelievable. I didn't even sense his presence. Haru continued chuckling. Pretty smart operation you have going here. You hope to force cooperation by making us believe a demon was among us. Correct. The minister stiffened. You, what are you implying? Haru chuckled again. Oh, nothing much. It just seemed this request would be completed far more easily than expected. I couldn't help but laugh. He continued, turning to the knights at the door. Captain of the Knights. The knight flinched slightly. You said that if we tried anything funny, we'd be seen as demons and cut down, right? Haru smiled beneath his cloak. Well then, what will it be? His voice hardened. Because I have no intention of obeying you people. Chapter 37. Bordeaux versus Shizue Izawa. Bordeaux spoke calmly. Nor do I have any intention of playing along with this charade. The knight captain's expression hardened. Charade, you say? At his signal, the other knights lowered their spears toward Bordeaux. The adventurers standing between them hurriedly moved aside. Bordeaux continued. Yes, it was you who summoned that lesser demon. The knight captain snapped back angrily. Are you trying to mock me? Bordeaux chuckled. You intend to gloss over it, but I must say, your efforts are pathetic. The knight captain drew his sword. You dare defy the principles of this nation? Oh no, Bordeaux replied lightly. It saves me a great deal of work, so I'm actually all for it. The knight captain frowned. Huh, Bordeaux continued evenly. The request was to slay a revived demon, yes, but there was no restriction stating the demon had to be the only one killed. He went on. And judging by this nation's principles, I'd say the logic is the same. I've simply determined there's no reason I should be the only one rebuked. The knight captain narrowed his eyes. I don't know, adventurer. I believe it would be in your best interest to cooperate. We have all of our men here. No matter how strong you think you are, you're outnumbered. Bordeaux covered his mouth as he laughed softly. Really? Numbers mean very little to someone like me. He lowered his hand. I came here to slay a demon. And if you're telling me there are likely several demons among us, would it not be easier to simply make do with everyone present? The minister's face went pale with sweat. You bastard! What are you saying? At that moment, the crowd stirred as a woman stepped forward, causing gasps to echo through the hall. Cougar muttered, Shizue-san. The conqueror of flames, Shizue Izawa. Must be nice having such a cool nickname. Well, Shizue replied, thanks for the compliment. You asked me a question, Miss Shizue, Bordeaux said smoothly, and as a gentleman, I'll give you an answer. His smile twisted into something manic. I do indeed plan on massacring everyone here. The hall fell silent as the adventurers present began to sweat. It's all for the greater good of the world outside, he continued. If even one of these insects escapes, they'll only go on to harm more people. Don't you think? Shizue raised her sword, pointing it directly at him. No matter how reasonable your argument sounds, she said, I can't allow you to carry it out. Bordeaux chuckled. Are you going to stop me, Shizue? Of course I am. She launched herself forward. Bordeaux's smile widened in enjoyment as a gray gauntlet materialized around his left hand. He caught her sword mid-swing, and sparks flew as metal clashed. Shizue said faintly, almost carefree, Your name is? Bordeaux laughed. You want to know my name? How sweet. He tilted his head, tapping his free finger against his chin. Let's see. From the sidelines, Cougar stared in disbelief. Oi, why is he so relaxed fighting Shizue-san? He swallowed. I know he's strong, but isn't this ridiculous? Back with Shizue and Bordeaux, Bordeaux paused, thinking for a brief moment. Then he smiled. You can call me Ebika. Shizue's eyes widened slightly. Japanese. She pressed him immediately. Are you Japanese? Bordeaux laughed. I don't know, he replied lightly. Am I? As he spoke, the gray gauntlet separated slightly, his stance shifting. He lunged. Shizue reacted instantly, raising her sword to block. Don't underestimate me, she said sharply. Flames roared to life along her blade, heat rippling through the air. Steel and flame collided with Bordeaux's gauntlet, scattering sparks across the hall. The two moved. Bordeaux stepped in with a short, precise strike from his left arm. Shizue twisted her wrist, redirecting the blow and countering with a flaming slash aimed at his shoulder. Bordeaux leaned back just enough to avoid it, the heat brushing past his cloak. He followed with a straight punch, the gauntlet cracking against her guard. Shizue slid back several steps, her boots scraping against the stone floor. She surged forward again. Their exchange was brief but intense. Shizue's sword traced arcs of fire through the air, while Bordeaux met every strike with a single arm, deflecting, parrying, and countering with minimal movement. This was like child's play for Bordeaux. He didn't even change his expression. An adventurer shouted in disbelief. He's keeping up with Shizue Izawa. Who is he? Another yelled. A monster, someone whispered. From the side, Cougar smiled grimly, sweat forming on his brow. Idiots, he thought as he watched closely. He's not keeping up with Shizue. Shizue is struggling just to keep up with him. That guy isn't even taking this fight seriously. Shizue pressed the attack, forcing Bordeaux back toward a pillar. She swung downward, flames exploding outward. Haru caught the blade again with his gauntlet. The impact cracked the stone beneath their feet. Shizue narrowed her eyes. Just who are you? Bordeaux chuckled. Should someone who's about to die really be concerned with that? He twisted his wrist, forcing her blade aside, then leapt back before striking again. Knowing would only bring you despair, he continued calmly. If you even understood it at all. He jumped forward. Gauntlet and flaming sword collided once more. A small explosion of fire burst between them, heat washing over the hall. Bordeaux leaned in close enough that only she could hear him. Of course, he said softly. Who I am is none of your business. Shizue pushed back, regaining her footing. True, she admitted. It isn't. She raised her sword, the flames intensifying. But letting you run free would be far too dangerous. Her expression hardened. I'm sorry, she said quietly, but I'm about to get serious. Chapter 38. I will fight Ifrit. Shizue leapt backward and settled into a firm stance. She raised her sword high, then brought it down in a powerful downward slash. Inferno flame. A massive torrent of fire erupted from her blade, surging forward and completely engulfing Haru. Flames roared violently, filling the hall with searing heat. For a brief moment, Haru's silhouette vanished within the inferno. Then the fire dispersed. Shizue's eyes widened in shock as Haru stood there, completely intact. Not a single mark marred his body. What shocked her even more were the bat-like wings folded tightly around him, having shielded him from the attack. Haru slowly moved the wings aside and let out a chuckle. A wide grin spread across his face. What intense firepower, he said appreciatively. The superior fire spirit, Ifrit, I presume. Shizue's expression hardened. You're a demon. You are correct, Haru replied calmly. You weren't affected by the flames at all, she said. Haru chuckled again. Oh no, he replied lightly. That hurt really bad. His smile sharpened. I'll have to pay it back tenfold. He vanished. In the next instant, Haru lunged toward her at blinding speed. As I thought, he spoke mid-charge. Ifrit is being restrained by that mask, isn't he? I sense strange magic from it. If I break it, I can bring him out, right? Shizue realized too late where he was aiming. Her mask. She had no time to react. Just as Haru's hand was about to strike it, his arm was violently cut aside. He was forced backward, skidding 6 steps away before stopping. Sweat trickled down his face. Infinity, he shouted. That mask has the property of infinity. Internally, he cursed himself. Of course, I forgot. The same thing happened to Diablo. How could I forget such a detail? He straightened and smiled again. I see now why you're able to suppress Ifrit. How interesting. Shizue, however, was panicking. He's fast. Way too fast. I couldn't react at all. If this battle continues, I'll be forced to use Ifrit. But can I afford to do that in a place like this? Haru chuckled, clearly entertained. Interesting, truly interesting, he said. The Cardinal World is a very interesting place. His eyes gleamed. I want to stay here forever. I want to find everything that is interesting. Shizue tightened her grip on her sword. You know now that I house a superior spirit, she said. You may not know this, but spirits have an advantage against demons. She hesitated, then added, I'm sure you don't want this to continue any longer. Internally, she pleaded, I have to bluff. Please, just leave. Haru laughed loudly. An almost sinister, menacing smile spread across his face. I remember Noir telling me something like that, he said, but I refuse to believe it. I can definitely beat a superior spirit. His voice was filled with excitement. I want to fight him. I want to fight Ifrit. Shizue's heart sank. Oh no! This demon is crazy. There's no way to avoid a fight. She began to move, her hand rising toward her mask. Then Haru raised his hand. But it's fine, he said. I can see you're conflicted. He tilted his head slightly. My guess is you can't control Ifrit, and you're afraid of letting him out and having him run wild, which would cause collateral damage. He turned away. I'll leave for now, he continued. As I, too, Don't want our fight disrupted by outside forces. His voice hardened just before he vanished. But this isn't over. Not even close. I will have my fight with Ifrit. With that, Haru teleported out of the hall. Internally, Shizue let out a quiet sigh of relief. If that fight had gone on any longer, she would have truly been forced to release Ifrit. Murmurs spread through the hall as the adventurers began chattering about the battle they had just witnessed. He blocked her flames. That speed. Was that really a demon? I've never seen anything like that. Just then, Cougar moved to Shizue's side. Shizue-san, are you okay? Shizue looked at him and nodded. Don't worry, Cougar-san. I'm fine. Cougar exhaled in relief. Then his expression hardened. Good. But Shizue, that demon is bad news. You need to leave this country immediately. No, Shizue replied calmly. I'm staying right here. Cougar frowned. But the demon was kind enough to postpone the fight, she continued, so that we could fight somewhere without people. Cougar clenched his fist. But Shizue-san, what if that demon? He hesitated, then spoke quietly. What if he kills you? I'm no rookie adventurer, Shizue-san. I know you were struggling against him. I know, Shizue said softly. But I don't have a choice. She lowered her gaze slightly. If I run now and he finds me again in another crowded place, he might not be so kind next time. Cougar sighed deeply. This hero complex of yours is going to be the death of you someday. Shizue chuckled. Besides, I have my own reasons for wanting to meet him again. Her thoughts drifted back to his words when he said, you can call me Ebika. Without a doubt. That's Japanese, she thought. If I've really found another Japanese person here, then I have to ask him. Cougar noticed her expression and sighed again. All right, I won't try to convince you anymore. He met her eyes. Just be careful. Shizue smiled. I don't need to be careful, Cougar-san. I have a trump card up my sleeve. At that moment, the minister approached with several guards. He bowed deeply. Shizue Izawa, thank you very much for your help in dealing with that demon. Shizue waved her hands hurriedly. Please, there's no need to bow. I only did what I had to do. The minister straightened and smiled. You are very humble, Miss Shizue. To think such a powerful demon was among us and we didn't even notice. What a blunder. No, Shizue replied. I suspect that demon was an archdemon. She continued. If that's the case, blending in seamlessly would be easy. I didn't even notice his presence until he spoke. I see, the minister said thoughtfully. Well then, Ms. Shizue, you must be exhausted after fighting such a foe. He gestured politely. Please allow us to prepare a room for you to rest. Shizue replied. You don't need to go through so much trouble, minister. Please, he cut in gently. Allow us. It's the least we can do. Shizue hesitated, then nodded. Fine. I appreciate your hospitality. The minister smiled warmly. Please, follow me. Together, they walked toward the sleeping quarters. Elsewhere, Haru stood atop a tree branch in the forest outside the country. He stared at where his arm had been severed. It's not growing back, he muttered. Well, that's to be expected. I'm made of magicules and I touched an anti-magic mask. He exhaled slowly. But Ifrit, I'm so close. A grin spread across his face. I'll kick your butt and free Shizue from her suffering. He paused, his eyes narrowing with amusement. And maybe then, she'll owe me a favor. He chuckled softly. Sorry, Rimuru, he continued. It seems you'll have to find a different body for yourself. Chapter 39. Reviving the Silver Wings. Bordeaux spoke calmly. All right, it's time to return what was borrowed. He vanished in an instant. When he reappeared, he stood beside a quiet bush deep within the forest. From behind it, he reached out and grasped two motionless bodies. Ginny and Jenny, the legendary adventurer duo known as the Silver Wings. Bordeaux floated cross-legged in midair, smiling widely as he returned their souls. A faint ripple of light appeared, and both bodies stirred. Ginny gasped sharply as her eyes flew open. "I'm alive!" Her voice trembled with disbelief. She turned her head and froze. Jenny was breathing. Alive, just as stunned as she was. "Sister!" Ginny scrambled forward and wrapped her arms around her. "Thank goodness! Thank goodness you're alive!" Jenny hugged her back tightly, still shaking. Ginny had been the one who summoned Haru. Jenny had been the one dying in her arms. Slowly, both sisters turned toward him. Bordeaux hovered casually in the air, legs crossed, wearing the widest grin imaginable. "What a touching reunion," he said cheerfully. Jenny looked between her sister and Haru. "Sister, who is this?" Ginny stared at him, realization crashing down on her. "It's you." Her voice stiffened. "You're that demon." Bordeaux smiled. "That's correct." Ginny looked around frantically. "Then how are we still alive?" "I brought you back to life," Bordeaux replied lightly. "Cool, right?" The sisters exchanged stunned glances. Jenny swallowed. "Sister, what is happening?" Ginny took a breath. "This is the demon I summoned to take revenge on that demon for us. I offered both our souls as payment, but it seems we're alive again." Bordeaux nodded. "Well, you were dead, and I did take your souls." He licked his lips slowly. "And oh my God, they were delicious." Ginny stiffened. "Then why are we still alive?" Bordeaux's grin widened. "That's simple." He tapped his chest lightly. "Most beings who collect souls can't differentiate whose soul belongs to whom once they have collected them." He paused. "Well, most except a certain slime, of course." Jenny frowned. "What does that have to do with anything?" "Well," Bordeaux continued casually, "I possess a skill that grants me a certain level of dominion over souls." He tilted his head. "So I can perfectly identify them and return them." Jenny blinked. "Pretty cool, right?" Bordeaux asked. "Very," Bordeaux agreed with himself. "Though your souls are weaker than before, as I did consume part of them." Ginny gave a weary smile. "What an insane skill." "Let's put that aside for now," Bordeaux said. "There's a reason I revived you." Jenny tensed. "And that is?" Bordeaux's gaze settled on Ginny. "Ginny, when you summoned me, you asked me to take revenge against a certain demon. Correct?" Ginny jumped to her feet. "Yes. Did you do it? Did you kill Orthos?" "Not yet," Bordeaux replied calmly. Her hope faltered. "But the reason I haven't killed him yet is tied to why I revived you." The sisters stared at him. "How would you two feel," Bordeaux continued, "about taking revenge yourselves?" Their eyes widened. Ginny clenched her fists, trembling. "There's nothing I want more," she admitted. "But we can't. Orthos is a named archdemon. We do not have the strength to take him on." Bordeaux chuckled softly. "Of course, I know that." Jenny looked confused. "Then what are you saying?" Bordeaux's smile turned sharp. "You wouldn't be fighting him alone." He leaned forward slightly. "Have you ever heard of a woman named Shizue Izawa?" Ginny and Jenny looked at each other, then back at Haru. Slowly, both of them smiled. Later that night, the knight captain sat in a secluded chamber alongside several knights. The room was dimly lit, and the air was calm, too calm. One of the knights broke the silence. "Captain, that demon earlier today. Should we really have done nothing about him?" The knight captain crossed his arms. "Do not concern yourselves with that one. He was likely nothing more than a greater demon. No match for Orthos-sama." Another knight nodded. "Indeed, our worries were unfounded. Still, I found it strange. He appeared to keep up with Shizue Izawa." The knight captain scoffed. "Shizue Izawa herself is no match for Orthos-sama alone." A third knight spoke with reverence. "Orthos-sama is truly powerful." "Of course he is," the knight captain said confidently. "He is a named archdemon." Just then, a soft chuckle echoed through the room. My, every knight stiffened. "You all seem to love your Orthos very much, don't you?" The knight captain shot to his feet, sword drawn. "Who's there? Reveal yourself." But I'm right next to you, Knight Captain. Presence appeared at his side. Bordeaux stood there casually. The Knight Captain panicked and swung his sword, only for Bordeaux to catch the blade between two fingers as if it weighed nothing. The captain froze. You! Recognition flashed across his face. You're the demon from earlier. Bordeaux smiled. You remembered me? I'm honored. The Knight Captain pulled back, forcing confidence into his voice. You're quite bold to return here alone. Why wouldn't I be? Bordeaux replied. That's a lot of mouth for a greater demon standing here by himself. Bordeaux tilted his head. Is that so? I wouldn't underestimate a greater demon if I were you. The Knight Captain smiled sharply. We have no shortage of greater demons in this country. I myself am one. The minister is one. The advisor as well. His smile widened. And our Lord, Orthos-sama, is a named archdemon. He laughed loudly. Do you see it now? Do you see how you have no chance of winning whatsoever? Bordeaux hummed thoughtfully. MH, that is awesome. The Knight Captain's smile dropped instantly. That's your reaction? He stared. I just told you that you're doomed, and you just say it's awesome? Bordeaux shrugged. Did I do something wrong? Was I supposed to cry? Beg for mercy? The Knight Captain snarled. I've had enough of you. Kill him. All of you attack. The knights surged forward. Haru's smile sharpened. A moment passed. Then silence. Bodies lay scattered across the chamber, their demonic forms already dissolving into ash. Not a single knight remained standing. Bordeaux sat alone in a chair, legs crossed, his chin resting on his hand. That wasn't satisfying at all, he muttered. He sighed. Indeed, I really do need to fight Ifrit. My thirst for battle won't be sated otherwise. The doors creaked open. Ginny and Jenny stepped inside. Ginny crossed her arms. Bordeaux-sama, are you done? Bordeaux looked up and smiled. Indeed, I'm done. He stood up. Let's go after the main dish. I can't wait a second longer. Jenny smiled, her eyes burning with anticipation. Trust me, I'm the one who can't wait. Chapter 40. The Real King. Shizue Izawa sat on the windowsill, one knee drawn up as she stared out into the night. Her mask lay in her hands, leaving her face fully exposed to the moonlight. She looked calm, composed, and strikingly beautiful. Her thoughts, however, were anything but calm. Demon Lord Leon once told me about demons known as the progenitors, she thought. Heretical beings even among demons. They aren't referred to by names, but by colors. Red progenitor rouge, white progenitor blanc, black progenitor noir, and others. 7 in total. Shizue's fingers tightened slightly around her mask. The demon I faced today possessed overwhelming strength, far beyond what a normal archdemon should display. But he can't be a progenitor. Demon Lord Leon was clear. There are only 7, and that being was not among them. Even if he were, such an existence has no reason to appear in a place like this. And yet, what was that power? A sharp knock echoed through the room. Shizue's eyes sharpened. She lifted the mask and slipped it back over her face. Come in. The door opened, and the blonde guard from the reception hall stepped inside, bowing politely. Pardon my intrusion. His Majesty wishes to speak with you. Would you accompany me? Shizue rose to her feet. All right. They walked through the quiet corridors side by side. Torchlight flickered against the stone walls, their footsteps echoing softly. You were brilliant in that fight earlier, the guard said casually. That demon was so frightened by you that I was lucky to survive. Shizue interrupted, her tone firm. That demon was stronger than me. The guard laughed lightly. Please, there's no need to be modest. It's regrettable that he escaped, but with you here, we have nothing to fear. They turned down a narrower passage. The guard stopped before a bare stone wall and pressed his palm against a specific brick. With a low rumble, the wall slid aside, revealing a staircase that descended into darkness. This way, the guard said, already moving forward. Shizue followed, her brow subtly furrowing behind her mask. Underground. Is this where the demon's remains are kept? As they descended deeper, a chill crept into her chest. Something's wrong, she realized. She studied the guard's back. He wasn't at the reception hall earlier. So how did he know about my fight with the demon? At the bottom of the stairs stood two massive doors. The guard pushed them open, revealing a hidden chamber. It was a throne room. At the center stood a grand, empty throne. To its right sat the minister. To its left sat the man known as the king of the nation. Shizue stepped inside, confusion flashing through her mind. The minister and the king? She muttered, stopping in place. The heavy doors slammed shut behind her. The guard continued walking forward, heading straight for the empty throne. Then he turned around and sat down upon it. Shizue stiffened. The guard straightened, his posture changing entirely as authority settled over him like a cloak. "Thank you for coming, Shizue Izawa," he said calmly. "As king, I am grateful that you chose to offer your life for this nation." Shizue's hand drifted closer to the hilt of her sword. "What is the meaning of this?" The man on the throne smiled faintly. "You are rather slow to catch on," he mocked. "You must be exhausted after your battle earlier. That is precisely why we must sacrifice you while we still can." Shizue steadied her breathing. "I see," she said quietly. "So you were in collusion from the start." The man on the throne grinned. "Precisely. My name is Orthos." Shizue's eyes widened beneath her mask. "Orthos, the Imperial Knight hailed as a champion," she said. "I see now. So you were never sealed away at all. You were a demon, an enemy of mankind." Orthos leaned back slightly. "I am the ruler of this land as well." Shizue's grip on her sword tightened. "You gathered the best adventurers planning to eliminate them, intending to pass them off as demons," she deduced. "By doing so, you, the true demon, would gain even more power. The kingdom of Filtwood is ruled by demons, and the king is nothing more than your puppet." Orthos chuckled softly. "I watched through the minister's eyes," he said. "That demon from earlier was powerful, but in the end he disappointed me." His gaze shifted to Shizue's face. "What intrigues me more is that mask of yours. It seems to carry significant value. That makes it worthy of belonging to me. I will drain your blood, devour your flesh, and claim your power as my own. Aren't you glad?" Shizue drew her sword in one smooth motion, leveling the blade directly at him. "Be serious." Orthos laughed. "Don't be a fool. You haven't even recovered your magic yet." His body began to warp and change. Purple horns pushed through his hair. His eyes burned a deep crimson as he rose from the throne, rolling his neck to the side. "And you think you can defeat me like this?" Shizue slid into her fighting stance. "I have to face him without any chance to prepare," she thought. "But I have no choice." Flames erupted along her blade as she launched herself forward. Orthos didn't even move. At the very last moment, he smiled and reached out, catching her blazing sword with his bare hand. Fire exploded outward, heat rippling through the chamber before dispersing into smoke. Orthos glanced down at his palm. "Oh, you still have this much strength." A thin line of blood ran down his hand. The sword's tip had managed to graze him. Shizue's eyes narrowed. Orthos' smile widened. "If you can injure me, you must be stronger than the silver wings." Shizue's voice trembled. "So it was you." "Indeed," Orthos replied calmly. "A lapse in my attention allowed them to escape. But you, on the other hand, I will not allow you to escape." The air in the room shifted violently. A crushing, suffocating pressure flooded the chamber as dark energy poured from Orthos' body. "Did you know," he sneered, "that there are ranks among demons? I am of the legendary class, a greater demon general." His voice rose in an ecstatic declaration. "That is, an archdemon." Shizue barely had time to react. Orthos' fist struck her squarely in the chest. She was sent flying across the room, crashing against the stone floor before rolling to a painful stop. Agony shot through her body as she struggled to push herself up. Orthos walked toward her at an unhurried pace. Do you understand now? As a man-made hero, the voices of this nation's people grant me power. And that power gave me a name, allowing me to become a named being on my own, just like that supreme existence who reigns at the very top. Shizue forced herself onto her knees, gasping for air. The top. There is no need for you to know, Orthos said coldly. He reached down, grabbing her by the neck and lifting her effortlessly off the ground. Shizue clawed desperately at his arm, her feet kicking uselessly in the air. Orthos laughed mockingly. Even one hailed as a champion possesses no more power than this. What's the matter? Not going to unify with Ifrit? That would make you a little stronger. His booming laughter echoed through the chamber. Shizue's hand trembled as she reached for her mask. I'm out of magic, she thought desperately. But Ifrit still has strength. If I let him rampage, he should be able to defeat even an archdemon. Her fingers touched the edge of the mask, but suddenly, her entire body froze. She couldn't move a muscle. A calm, amused voice echoed through the chamber. Now, we can't have that. The oppressive pressure around her instantly shifted. Are you trying to hand over my opponent before I've had my bout with him? How rude. Chapter 41. Who are you calling lower? The voice belonged to Bordeaux. He stood calmly at the entrance, holding what appeared to be a lifeless body in one hand. And Shizue Izawa, Bordeaux said flatly. You disappoint me. How can one who caused me pain die at the hands of this weakling? Orthos' grip loosened, and Shizue fell to the floor, coughing and gasping as she looked up. Orthos turned slowly to face the intruder. Shizue forced her head up, whispering, Why, you are. Bordeaux glanced down at her. It is my policy to keep my promises. I hope you are the same, Shizue. He smiled faintly, then casually threw the body he was holding onto the stone floor. The king rose from his throne in a panic. What's this? The corpse suddenly ignited. Black flames consumed it in seconds, burning away the disguise to reveal a lifeless lesser demon. The minister shot to his feet, trembling. Impossible. Our knights are renowned for their unrivaled strength. Bordeaux turned his head slightly toward him. You call it unrivaled strength? He said ice cold. Because they can kill a mere lesser demon. Your standards for strength are far too low. The king scowled, trying to force confidence into his voice. You are indeed strong, but you are no match for us. The minister sneered beside him. After the conqueror of flames, you will be next. Just wait. The sentence was never finished. A silent cleave flashed through the air. The minister's head separated cleanly from his shoulders, spinning across the floor as a heavy spray of blood painted the walls. Bordeaux didn't even look back. He turned toward the puppet king and began walking toward him. The king collapsed where he stood, scrambling backward in absolute terror. It can't be. We have the protection of a greater demon. Bordeaux seized the king's head mid-scream. Stop squealing, Bordeaux said coldly. You trash. His fingers tightened. With a wet, crushing sound, the king's skull caved in, blood splattering across the chamber. Orthos watched the scene unfold with a wicked smile, making no attempt to intervene. Behind him, Shizue stared in sheer disbelief. I thought he had merely escaped, she thought. I never imagined he was out hunting down the demons disguised as humans. Bordeaux turned his attention to Orthos. As he walked forward, his boot casually crushed the demon-transformed head of the knight he had slain earlier. Orthos laughed. Just because you defeated our puppets, do you truly think you can defeat an archdemon? Bordeaux continued walking toward him, never slowing his pace. Orthos' smile widened. A lower demon like you can't. The world blurred. In an instant, Bordeaux vanished. Before Orthos could register the movement, an iron grip clamped around his throat, lifting him completely off the ground. Bordeaux's face was now inches from his own, wearing a wide, dangerous smile. Orthos choked, pain tearing through his neck. Bordeaux spoke in a dangerously calm voice. Who are you calling lower? His grip tightened further. For a dependent of Rouge, you are quite overconfident. Orthos clawed uselessly at Bordeaux's arm, his face turning a deep purple. That's why, Bordeaux whispered softly, you can't judge how powerful your opponents truly are. Orthos wheezed, blood beginning to leak from the corners of his eyes. Impossible. You've disgraced yourself. Bordeaux cut him off. Associating with these insects, you don't deserve to live. I will destroy your very soul so you can never be revived. The pressure in the room spiked. Blood streamed down Orthos' face as his muffled screams turned frantic. No, no! Bordeaux's smile became utterly sinister. Just then, a steady voice echoed through the chamber. Bordeaux-sama, if you continue, you really are going to kill him, you know? Bordeaux paused. He turned his head toward the entrance, then casually released his grip. Orthos dropped to the floor, coughing violently as he clutched his bruised throat. My bad, Bordeaux said lightly. I got a little excited there. The two figures standing at the entrance were Ginny and Jenny, the Silver Wings. Orthos' eyes widened in horror. Impossible. The Silver Wings? There's no way you should be alive. Ginny smiled, a sharp, unsettling curve of her lips. What is it, Orthos? Are you surprised? Shizue stared from the floor, stunned. The Silver Wings. How are they still alive? Bordeaux chuckled. I might or might not have brought them back to life. Forgive me. Shizue's shock deepened. Brought them back to life? How is that even possible? Bordeaux waved a hand dismissively. Oh, it's quite simple, really. I just told them to come back to life. And they did. Orthos' face completely drained of color as he looked at Bordeaux. You are the same kind of being as Gai-sama. His voice trembled with pure terror. A primordial. How are you here? Why are you here? Shizue's thoughts raced behind her mask. So he really is a primordial, but Demon Lord Leon never mentioned a maroon-colored one. The Silver Wings were equally shaken. Ginny stared blankly at Bordeaux. You're a primordial? Jenny turned to her sister. Sister, how did you summon something like that? Orthos looked at them in absolute horror. You summoned him? He screamed, his voice cracking. You summoned him? Do you have any idea what kind of monster you dragged into this world? A threat far, far greater than me. He began to laugh hysterically. Are you idiots? Bordeaux chuckled softly. Don't worry yourselves too much. I have no intention of staying here beyond my short-term goals. His eyes glinted with power. But make no mistake, I will fully manifest in this world someday. Just not yet. Shizue clenched her fist. I knew he was strong, but did I underestimate him this badly? Her thoughts darkened. Can Ifrit even defeat him? He cannot be allowed to roam free. Ginny stepped forward, drawing her weapon. Shizue Izawa, will you lend us your strength to kill this demon? Orthos. Shizue blinked. Huh? She looked toward Bordeaux. Can't Bordeaux just kill him? Jenny shook her head. He could, she said calmly. But we want to take our revenge ourselves. We know our limits, though. We can't defeat him alone. Shizue pushed herself to her feet, steadying her blade. All right, I'll help. Orthos' eyes darted between the three women. That demon already shaved away most of my soul, he realized in a panic. I can't win against the three of them like this. It's impossible. I have to retreat. I need to recover my strength. He spun around, attempting to teleport away. But suddenly, a heavy magical barrier snapped into place, sealing the room. Nothing happened. Bordeaux chuckled from the sidelines. We can't have you running away now. Stay here and face your punishment, you vile being. Orthos looked up at him, at that smiling, merciless face. Absolute despair flooded his chest. This was the end. Chapter 42. Shizue faces reality. The two Silver Wings were breathing heavily, their weapons lowering. Ginny spoke in a low, breathless voice. We did it. Then, her voice rose with excitement. We did it. We really did it, sister. She jumped onto Jenny, both of them overwhelmed with adrenaline. They were covered in blood, their bodies trembling from exhaustion. Shizue dropped down onto the floor with a dull thud, wiping the sweat from her brow. If I had used Ifrit's power just 2 more times, she thought, he would have broken free. Slow, methodical applause suddenly echoed through the room. Clap, clap. Bordeaux walked forward, chuckling. Congratulations. The 3 of you have officially slain a high-ranking, named Archdemon. That makes you all certified demon slayers. Jenny blinked. But we were already demon slayers. We've slain countless demons before Orthos. Bordeaux tilted his head. Countless? Please don't tell me you mean lesser and greater demons. Jenny choked on her own breath. Bordeaux continued calmly. Lesser and greater demons are so weak that killing them shouldn't even be considered an accomplishment. It shouldn't take more than a second. All 3 women looked at him, and all 3 shared the exact same thought. Only a monster like you could say that. Shizue sighed. To think he still had that much strength left, even after fighting you, Bordeaux-san. Archdemons truly are monstrous. Ginny nodded weakly. I agree 100%. I honestly thought it would be easy since he was already so damaged. Bordeaux chuckled, his gaze sharpening. It was embarrassing, struggling to kill a demon on the verge of death. And you are supposedly the best humanity has to offer. Shizue stood up, her jaw setting. With all due respect, Bordeaux-san, ordinary humans don't have the innate advantages that demons like you do. You've been strong for a very long time, probably since the moment you came into existence as a primordial. Of course you see everyone else as weak. But reality isn't that simple for the rest of us. Bordeaux's smirk faded. I don't need you lecturing me, Shizue Izawa, he said coldly. You house a superior spirit, yet you refuse to use it. Don't complain about unfairness. Countless people would die to be in your position. Shizue snapped. What would you know? Her voice echoed sharply off the stone walls. You don't know anything about me. The silver wings reacted instantly, leaping forward and clamping a hand over Shizue's mouth. Their eyes were wide with sheer panic. We barely survived a 3-on-1 against a weakened archdemon, they thought frantically. And she's shouting at a primordial who handled him with 0 effort. She was digging her own grave. Bordeaux raised a hand. Jenny, let her speak. The sisters hesitated, then slowly released Shizue, stepping back. Bordeaux looked directly into her eyes. You say I don't know you. Then tell me, who are you, Shizue Izawa? And what is it that someone as old as me fails to understand? Behind his curiosity lay a deeper intent. Bordeaux knew the truth of this world. In the original flow of time, Shizue and Ifrit never truly coexisted because they hated each other. Ifrit had once forced her to kill her own friend, an unforgivable sin. But even if Bordeaux crushed Ifrit into submission, it would mean nothing if Shizue herself never accepted the spirit. Shizue spoke, her voice trembling but firm. This monster, Ifrit, has terrorized me my entire life. He made me kill my closest friend. He made living a normal life impossible wherever I went. Why would I ever want to use his power? Bordeaux let out a dismissive scoff. Yeah, always blame. This is exactly why I hate humans. Shizue frowned. What? I'm the victim here. Why are you making it sound like I'm the one in the wrong? Bordeaux looked at her, entirely unimpressed. I don't know. Maybe because you refuse to look at things from Ifrit's perspective. Shizue stiffened. He was forcefully ripped from his home and shoved into the body of some random child, Bordeaux continued. His freedom was stripped away completely. Tell me, Shizue, you're Japanese, aren't you? Yes, she replied cautiously. What does that have to do with anything? Bordeaux explained evenly. I'm guessing you were summoned as a child. Due to a lack of magicules, your body would have broke down and died sooner or later. So, the fire spirit Ifrit was bound to you specifically to sustain your life. Shizue's eyes widened behind her mask. Yes. But how could you possibly know that? You learn a thing or two when you've lived as long as I have, Bordeaux replied. Galdu Najursur advanced knowledge, but that's beside the point. Picture this, you're forcefully summoned into another world, shoved into the body of a random kid to save their life, and then that kid grows up to absolutely hate you. How would you feel? Shizue fell dead silent. She stared at the floor, processing the words. It would hurt, she admitted softly. But that doesn't erase what he did to me. Bordeaux shrugged. I think that part is on you. It's your responsibility to try and coexist with Ifrit. That's impossible, Shizue said immediately. Bordeaux chuckled. You say it's impossible, but have you ever actually tried? Shizue opened her mouth to argue, then froze. No words came out. Bordeaux nodded. So that's a no. And yet, you judged it as impossible without ever attempting it. Shizue let out a weak, self-deprecating laugh. Wow, I never realized just how hypocritical I was being. She lowered her gaze. Now that I actually think about it, Ginny smiled brightly, breaking the tension. Wow, Bordeaux-sama, to think you were so wise. In less than 5 minutes, you completely opened Shizue's eyes. Jenny nodded enthusiastically. Truly, our master is incredibly wise. Bordeaux blinked. Huh? Master? What are you talking about? Jenny tilted her head. Aren't we your subordinates now? Bordeaux stared at them blankly. No, thank you. I don't want subordinates. That sounds like way too much trouble. Ginny's face crumpled. Then why did you revive us? I revived you just to prove that I could, Bordeaux replied casually. Jenny nodded, unfazed. Okay then, please make us your subordinates. No. Ginny and Jenny dropped to their knees at the same time. Please! They cried together, their eyes shimmering with exaggerated tears. Bordeaux didn't even flinch. No, and those puppy dog eyes won't work on me. Shizue watched the ridiculous exchange, then let out a soft chuckle. A moment later, she laughed out loud. Chapter 43, The Genpei War. Shizue was still laughing when she spoke again. One hand pressed lightly against her chest as she tried to calm herself. Now I'm absolutely sure of it, she said. There's no way I could be mistaken. Bordeaux glanced at her sideways. Sure of what? She met his gaze, her smile softer now, more certain. Bordeaux-san, you're Japanese, aren't you? Ginny blinked, looking between them. Japanese? What's that supposed to be? Before Shizue could answer, Bordeaux tilted his head slightly, a smug curve tugging at his lips. Wakarimasen, he said casually in his native tongue. Do omwamasu ka? I don't know. What do you think? Shizue smiled wider. I thought so. She studied him for a moment, then asked, But Bordeaux-san, how did you come into this world? And how did you turn into a demon? Ginny raised both hands. Wait. We're completely lost now. Jenny nodded rapidly beside her. Yes, extremely lost. Shizue glanced back at them. Well, Bordeaux-san isn't exactly from this world. He's an otherworlder, just like me. He's from Japan, the same country I'm from. Just from a different era. The room fell quiet. 3 pairs of eyes settled on Bordeaux, each filled with curiosity. He chuckled. That's a long story. I'll tell it another day. Shizue didn't back down. Then just a little piece of it. Can you tell me about the Japan you came from? Were you from the same generation as me? Bordeaux leaned back slightly, considering his words. That's not an easy question either. In what way? Shizue asked. Well, he said, tapping a finger lightly against his chin. I've been reincarnated about 3 times now. The words landed heavily in the quiet room. Shizue stared at him. 3 times? Is that even possible? It happened to me, Bordeaux replied. So I'd say yes. She shook her head slowly. That's hard to believe. Just how strong must your soul be? Bordeaux smiled again, clearly pleased with himself. Pretty strong. Not to brag, of course. Jenny narrowed her eyes. The look on your face says otherwise. Ginny nodded firmly. You're definitely bragging, Bordeaux-sama. I would never, he replied, completely unapologetic. Shizue took a breath, steadying her thoughts. Then, can you tell me about the second world you were born into? Bordeaux paused. That one? Let's see. It was during the Heian era. Shizue froze. That long ago? Jenny tilted her head. Is that really that long? The Heian era was about 800 years ago, Shizue explained, her voice filled with awe. Jenny's eyes widened. Then Bordeaux-san is at least 800 years old. I don't think math works like that, Bordeaux said dryly. Shizue's expression suddenly shifted as a thought struck her. Wait, if you lived during the Heian era, does that mean you experienced the Genpei War? Bordeaux stiffened, his casual demeanor vanishing. You know about the Genpei War? He asked, his voice low. Of course, Shizue replied. I grew up in a war-torn world, too. We learned all about it in school and how it shaped the history of Japan. Bordeaux stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the stone floor. He stepped closer, an intense agitation clear in his movements. Then you know how it ended, he said, staring directly at her. You know who won. Shizue hesitated, caught off guard by the sudden fire in his eyes. Yes, it's recorded in history. Bordeaux reached out, placing his hands firmly on her shoulders. Who won? He demanded. Did the Minamoto win? Yes, Shizue said clearly and firmly. The Minamoto won. Bordeaux's hands slipped away, and he slumped back into his seat as if all the tension had been drained out of his body at once. I see, that's good. That's really good. Ginny tilted her head, trying to read the mood. So, do we celebrate or something? It is a good thing, Bordeaux replied quietly. Shizue frowned slightly, trying to piece the timeline together. Wait, Bordeaux-san, if you lived through it, didn't you witness the war yourself? How did you not know how it ended? He glanced away, staring at the wall. I died pretty early on. Never got to see how it all played out. Died early on? Shizue repeated. Suddenly, a historical puzzle piece clicked perfectly into place in her mind. She stood up abruptly, her eyes wide with shock. Bordeaux-san, please tell me, she whispered, her voice tightening with emotion. What was your Japanese name? My name. Bordeaux blinked, then shrugged. Haru. Haru of the Minamoto. Shizue froze solid. Her breath caught in her throat, her eyes widening as if struck by a divine revelation. In a low, trembling voice, she muttered, Haru? Your name is Haru. Bordeaux frowned. Yeah? Is something wrong with it? Haru-san, Shizue whispered, tears of shock welling in her eyes. Are you that Haru? The one who made a final stand against 1,000 Terra soldiers. An absolute silence fell over the chamber. The legendary warrior, she continued, her voice filled with profound reverence. Praised as the greatest hero among the Minamoto. Bordeaux's eyes widened in genuine surprise. Oh, yeah, I did fight about 1,000 people during my last moments as Haru. He paused, scratching his head. But wait, how do you even know about that? Shizue lowered her head slightly, her posture radiating pure respect. Haru-san, you're my hero. When I was little, my mother used to tell me stories about your brilliance, your unmatched talent in swordsmanship, and how you sacrificed your life so your platoon could escape the ambush. To think I'd meet you here, of all places. It's truly an honor. Bordeaux recoiled slightly, waving his hands defensively. Okay, first of all, stop that. That formal tone is weird. Don't talk to me like that. He squinted at her. Second, is your mother immortal? How does she know about things from almost 1,000 years ago? Shizue laughed softly, wiping her eyes. Of course she isn't. Like I said, the Genpei War is recorded in history books and taught to every child in school. The story of Haru of the Minamoto is an important part of the national curriculum. Bordeaux stared at her, completely dumbfounded. Wait, seriously? Modern people learn about me in school? Yes, Shizue replied without a shred of hesitation. Ginny leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with excitement. So Bordeaux-sama is basically a legendary god in your world? Bordeaux cleared his throat, trying to regain his composure. Tell me, Shizue, who were the major contributors to the Minamoto victory after I fell? Well, Shizue said, sitting back down, many figures played key roles in securing that victory. If you want, I can tell you exactly who they were and what they did. Bordeaux raised an eyebrow. You actually memorized all of that? Of course, she said simply. For example, the most important figure in the Minamoto's final victory was Minamoto no Yoritamo. Bordeaux instantly stiffened, his jaw dropping. Uncle Yoritamo? He stammered, his eyes wide. Him? You've got to be kidding me.